All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Two Plus podcast. This is going to be our final player perspective episode in the lead up to our Old Hammer Spring Break tournament in Western Sydney, which is happening in a couple of days' time. I'm joined by Dave tonight, and he's got an incredible
Hello.
list that we are going to show off tonight. Thanks, Dave, for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Patrick.
It's going to be an absolute belter because, as you can see in Dave's list here, it's called the fun stuff. And when you see these photos, you will be reinvigorated with the spirit of Warhammer, I guarantee. So stay tuned for that. But we'll quickly run through the list. We'll just kick off with the characters. You've got a Night Goblin Odd Nob, level 4, running War Magic, Orc Big Boss, Battle Standard Bearer with the Charm Shield, and an Orc War Boss, Heavy Armor, Sword of Striking, and the Troll Hide Trousers. Do you want to just quickly give us a run through of your characters? What inspired you there?
Yeah, well, I think you pretty much need a level 4 these days to more for defense as much as attack. I did have the Idol of Mork in the previous tournament, which gave me a reroll and an extra range for Dispel. But I decided to be a little more offensive this time since Itchy Nuisance is so beloved by all my
Hmm.
opponents, and making it 18-inch range spell instead of 15 is pretty damn awesome, actually. The number of times you wish you could zap something and can't. So I've given him the Idol of Gork just to get that bit of extra reach and a reroll for casting spells. The Orc Big Boss, you've got to have your BSB. I've kept him cheap and cheerful. The Charm Shield is more for the if he finds himself in combat and really needs that wishful thinking, well, he's got the Charm Shield, which gives him a one-off 5-up ward save. So that's the just in case. It's pretty cheap. By the time you've paid for a shield, you might as well pay a couple more points to get the Charm Shield. My Orc War Boss, at the moment with the Orc list, you don't leave home without Trollhide Trousers. Having given the extra point of armor and the 5-up regen is pretty awesome. Sort of striking is a bit of a strange choice, since normally you're trying to do a bit better with breaking down the opponent's AP, like beating their armor. But I decided instead to go with more of my shots or more of my strikes actually hitting, since he's already got pretty good ballistic weapon skill. But with the sort of striking, instead of hitting on threes or fours, he'll be hitting on twos or threes. And it's really good for chopping through troops because you're hitting them on twos then.
The stat line of a war boss. I'm interested in Orcs and Goblins and maybe my second army further down the track. So I'm a little bit familiar,
Nice.
but what is the war boss stat line? If you know off the top of your head?
Uh, I've got it here. So War Boss is weapon skill 6, strength 6, toughness 5. Sorry, strength 5, toughness 5, 3 wounds, and initiative 5 with 4 attacks.
Yeah, okay. So
He
just
does come with Furious Charge. So if he gets the charge, he's now got 5 attacks. And like I said, if you're charging into rank and file, he's pretty good odds of killing 5 troops, which
yeah,
really helps your static combat res.
yeah, definitely needed. Yeah, definitely seems like a bit of an offensive piece for you, which is good. Moving on to your core, 31 Night Goblins and only 2 Fanatics when you could take 3. Is that because you got
You
model
could take
shortage?
3.
Yeah.
No, the I have the Fanatics, but 25 points. I wanted to make them a deterrent without investing too heavily in it. The main feature of the Night Goblins for this tournament, unlike the last tournament, is I've given them the Spider Banner. So with short bows, 18-inch range, no penalty for move and shoot because they've got quick shot. So large targets like here there might be a dragon or two, and perhaps a giant spawn or something,
Mhm.
but getting wounds through them through the through their toughness on every roll of a 6 when you're flinging 30 odd dice at them is pretty good.
Yeah, totally. It's
It
very
does.
even. It's on
So
trend at the moment with where competitive meta itself is even going with those blocks.
yeah, I did take the Night Goblins last time, and that's where my often where my Night Goblin Odd Knob hangs out. If you can reduce something's weapon skill, their initiative, and then weaken them with a whole bunch of poison arrows, you're doing reasonably well. Um, and if they charge you, you've got stand and shoot, and it's a real risk to take them on head on because you can generally rely on some poison getting through, even with a decent armor save.
And your orc mobs there, I presume house, you don't have to give away secrets, always say that, but I presume they
Mm.
house either one or two of your orc characters, or are they,
Look,
or, yeah, again, don't give it
you,
away.
yeah, look, with the war boss, because he's you know what's funny? I only just realised I didn't give him a boar, and I played my mate Steve the other day, and he was on a boar. Not that it made a difference, but I'll have to break out the war boss on foot now.
I did
So
just think
if you
because in
see the
the
war boss on a pig, ignore the pig in the photos. It's going to be the dude on foot. There you go. I'm glad you
easy.
pointed that
I
out.
did think
Oops.
in my head, I was just about to push through these photos. It's like, hold on a second. I was expecting him to be on a boar. Um,
It's the free pig. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, so yeah, you might find the Orc boss and the Orc BSB in with the Orcs. It's a good odds. When I last game when I last tournament when I had him on the boar, I had the option of putting him with the boar boys, but I like to keep my boss pretty close to my blocks and especially close to the trolls.
Yeah, well,
Otherwise, they
speak.
just drool all over the place, and you've got to clean
Yeah,
up the mess off the carpet.
that's right. That's what they're good at. Speaking of your trolls in special, you got three trolls, five squig hoppers, five boar boys, and the world-renowned Snotling Pump Wagon. Take us through your special decision making.
Okay, one slight correction. Did drop the squig hoppers for. I sent through a correction to the list, which they graciously approved. I dropped the squig hoppers for my wolf boys
Oh, the Dingo
because
Boys, which we'll
the
see.
dingo boys because I wasn't expecting the dingoes to be ready, but a mate of mine um, printed them off for me, and I thought, oh, they're ready. I've got to get them in the list. So I begged,
Mhm.
and they said yes. Um, so they're in with the core, the five
Yeah.
wolf riders, but they're on dingoes for more Orc-Stralianness.
Mm.
But the trolls, they're led by Big Kev, who's absolutely loving it. And you'll notice that one of the trolls is carrying a dwarf, and his nickname is Nobody because nobody tosses a dwarf.
That's good for our Lord of the Rings
Look,
friends,
if there's
except
an
for
opportunity for a
Legolas.
bad pun, I've gone there. You'll probably see on the picture of the orc mobs that the champion of the orc mob, the champion of that unit is a giant night goblin. It's got a night goblin hood and all that. His name's Arnie. You can't see it in the pictures, but he's got a pocket of mushroids on his hip, and his favourite line is "Get to the chopper," which works really well with orcs.
It does.
Um, and the musician in that unit is it might recognize the pose, old fella in school uniform with a guitar. So I went with Angus on that one. But yeah, the command group is other than Angus is redcoats and all the orcs with the convict checks. So going with the convict Australia theme for that. Sorry, I did jump back to the core, so I apologise for that.
Oh, good.
But the trolls, yeah, we've got Big Kev. He's got nobody in there as well. So they're my bunyips.
A
I
lot
just
of
got
these
to.
are a lot of these are going to go over the heads, maybe of some people who don't live in
Oh,
Australia, which is not a lot of people who listen to this, but you'll
it's all
get it
good.
all with the photos, and it's fantastic. And the theme, the Australians, it rings true.
Now the board boys, they're the Razorback riders. Um, look, I just they're just great fun to play. They've got 7-inch movement, swift stride, counter charge. I've made them biggins so that they, or piggins as the case may be, so that they hit just that extra bit hard. I absolutely love playing. They're good fun. Sometimes they just totally whiff. You really need to get your charge off and to get the hits with the spears. But when they hit hard, they hit really hard, and they're fun either way. You know, either they do a great job or they run away screaming. Either way, orcs had a fight. That's a win. And the pump wagon. Now, I've got two pump wagon models. The one that you see here is the billy cart. The old Battlefield Skull Pass trolls. You could do so much with them. They're so easily convertible, particularly if you get hold of some ogre arms. They fit really well once you do a bit of slicing and dicing. So I don't expect it to do anything. I played a game against one of my mates, Steve, the other night, and in 5 turns, it didn't make it into combat because its movement is only 2d6. It's got decent impact hits. They're not huge. It's only a light chariot, really. But with 2d6 movement, it spent 5 turns trundling across the field at speed, stupid troll pushing a billy cart sort of thing, and achieved absolutely nothing. So it's there because I like the conversion.
35 points. I mean,
Hey, it's
taking
not
up
a big investment.
exactly.
If it
It's worth
if it
it.
attracts some arrows, it's a win.
Yeah, exactly. And let's quickly go through your rare because one of the standout items in this list is the Doom Diver catapult, which you have named the Dunny Diver, I believe.
Well, I was trying to think what's an Australian equivalent. So I made a outhouse. It's got a red back under the toilet seat and everything. Um, and yeah, the concept is instead of a goblin being catapulted through the air and kamikazing into the enemy, a doom diver, it's a dunny diver because you've got the goblin out the front with the snorkel, the flippers, and the goggles. He dives down the long drop, burrows under the enemy, lights a match, boom. So similar effect.
All right, so these are your characters, Dave. You mentioned them. You've got your BSB. You mentioned you forgot to put it your orc on a
Forgot he
boar.
doesn't have the pig, so I've got
Yeah,
a different one that I'll be bringing,
and you've
and that's
got
Mr.
your
Sunshine on the left there.
Mr. Sunshine. So, yeah, just so I can explain, Orcimite, obviously playing off Vegemite, which is huge in
Mm.
Australia. Um, where did you get the idea to start? Sorry, I'll put that back full screen. Um, where did the Australian theme come from? Because it's like quite an investment. Once we get through these photos, people will see the effort you've put in.
Well, look, I used to play 40K. That was my game. And I moved to England in 2007, spent a year there on a working holiday. I was living in Nottingham. You can't live in Nottingham and not have an army to play. I didn't bring my Space Marines. I thought, look, rather than start a different 40K army, I'll go totally different. I bought the Battle for Skull Pass set. And originally they were the Mad Monks of Mork. That was the army theme. But then I think I started playing around with a couple of conversions. I think it might have been when I was making the giant that I thought because he had webbing straps around his legs. I thought, oh, that looks a bit like you could have some pads there. I thought, oh, hang on a minute. And he was pretty much the start of the conversion journey that the army's taken. So
I've
you got
got let
Mr.
me pull
Sun.
him
Sorry,
let me pull him up just because we've mentioned
sure,
this model a lot and it's incredible. So that is Merv Huge on the left, and that's the pads you're talking about. This is an
yeah.
Australian cricket player takeoff. So this was the first guy you made, was it? Or was this just the inspiration?
Well, he was the first conversion that led towards it being the Orc-Stralian army. Um, the the bat wasn't hard. That was mostly just a piece of thin foam core, like off a sign that I cut up and attached to the tree stump. Sculpted the moustache because Murph Hughes, moustache. The baggy green, the vest, the pads, the squigget ball he's got in his hand there. That's the little squig that the Night Goblin general that comes with the Battles for Skull Pass set. That's his little pet squig. So I just sculpted a seam and stitches on it to make it more cricket ball like. But he hasn't historically got a lot of gameplay because giants tend to, well, in previous edition, 8, they just fell over if you weren't careful. And in this edition, I'm fully expecting him to be full of arrows or bolts and fireballs very, very quickly. But if he gets into combat, it's going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely. Even just marching across the battlefield is fun, especially when he looks like that. Um, the photo on the right here is your Doom Diver Dunny Divers. You can see the snorkel there. This is, as I said, a bit of a diorama. So you've obviously made
Yeah.
this. How did
Yeah.
you go about the process?
The wooden planks are made from exactly the same material as the cricket bat at the blade of the bat. Just like a sign that you can get from Bunnings, like a very thin foam core style thing, and it takes a if you run a dead ballpoint pen over it, it'll take a groove quite nicely. So hence the wood grain. Lots of cut lengths of little sprues for the nails. You can get corrugated iron from model railway shops. And just recently, I added the gum tree. I found a guy who does scenery for model railways selling gum trees and wattle trees and that. And I've picked up a few. If I get my display board done in time, there'll be quite a few more on that. But that's a optimistic outcome there.
Hey,
So yeah, just plonked it on the base, and it's a mini diorama. Just had some fun with that.
yeah, it's incredible. And is this a new edition or is this again one of your earlier pieces, like as you were building this Australian theme?
It's probably about midway through eighth edition. I came up with that because I had one of the original, not not even the more modern long grease track
Yeah.
Doom Diver, the original one, which is a little catapult on wheels, and it just didn't have any presence whatsoever. And
Well, that
I
that has some
experimented
presence, I'll
with,
tell you that much.
oh yeah, I did experiment with a troll spinning a clothesline to launch a goblin, like a Hills hoist, because Hills hoists are an Australian invention. But that just wasn't working, so I went with this one. I do have another one in mind, but I'll keep that under wraps until one day I field two um, Doom Diver substitutes, and
Yeah,
I'll reveal that one when it's done.
awesome. Now that I've kind of gone off script a bit, I'll pop over here because these are two of the other incredible ones. This is the new unit you were talking about, which is like a 10 out of 10 for
Yeah.
me. Alex and I have this scale on this channel that we're trying to build into something which is this Warhammer, right? And
Mm.
this right here, and that your whole army as a whole is a 10 out of 10 from me because Wolf Riders in
Well, thanks,
itself,
Patrick. That's kind.
it's just like the effort you've put in looks incredible. And like they themselves are a fun unit. So it's not like you're
Yeah.
not cutting no corners. But so this is your new list, sorry, new unit that you've just gotten and substituted in. If anyone complains about you subbing this in last minute, I think you'll have a few friends to back you up there because it's worthy of the late edition.
Yeah, the dingoes were literally given to me last Friday as 3D prints. And as you can see, I've just done some rebasing and stuff. There's still some work to be done on them, and the goblins need a bit more love. But the dingoes just came out so nice. The digital sculpt is awesome, and they printed really well. I'm really happy with how they've turned out. The wolf riders just didn't sit right with me because we don't have wolves. We don't have
Yeah,
anything like wolves, but we do have dogs. So the dingo dudes are going to hit the table. They haven't had the game yet, but the tournament might be the first one. Alex and I are hoping the game on Thursday, perhaps. So we'll see if we get away with that. Depends on what the bosses say.
awesome. And to the left of screen, we've got your pump wagon pushed by a troll.
Yep, yep. There's that Battle for Skull Pass troll happening there. That's the billy cart. The orc chariot parts are just awesome. They're so adaptable. I've made a couple of different things out of just chariot parts. These days, some absolutely amazing 3D sculpts out there that I've been looking at, but I like to keep with the theme. So yeah, there's a mix of old classic snotlings on there and a little dude from I think it was from Rhinox Scrap Launcher or something sitting at the front there. Bits of shield, bits of Orc Club, and of course mostly chariot structure to put it together.
Yeah, looks
But yeah,
legit.
so far completely useless game
That's
wise.
just
Two D
Justin,
six
man.
just is not getting it anywhere.
No,
I've played it in two games. I've set it up for a flank charge. I charged across the table and it just didn't get into combat at all.
I've played a Chaos Spawn or two in a couple lists when I first started playing Old World, and I think they had 2d6 movement, and when you roll that three or four or two, and it just gets in the way of something, it can be really hamstringing.
It's
But
a trundle.
yeah, it's definitely a trundle. So this is your call. You got your night goblins there.
Mhm.
You've got that's what is that flag? That's the Prospectors flag or something, isn't it? What is that flag?
Yeah, that's the Southern Cross, which was at Eureka
Mining in
Stockade.
Victoria?
That's it.
Eureka Stockade. That's
Yeah,
right.
yep,
Yes. Yeah.
Eureka Stockade.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty damn Aussie. And
Yeah.
as you can see, the most of the orcs have got the convict arrows on their tunics, and the standard bearer and Arnie there have got the red coats, but
That's
with
Arnie there with
Angus
the
in the middle.
guitar, right? Or is
No,
that
no, that's
Angus? That's
Angus.
Angus. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
as in Angus from ACDC.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the end of the guitar broke off. That's another fix I need to make before the tournament. But yeah, that's Arnie with the night goblin head on him, just to his
That
to
one
the
there.
right of him. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get a guitar? Where is that guitar from?
Plastic card. Just created a plastic card. The hands from the monopose orc archers, which there this unit of orcs does have warbows. Now that if you equip your orcs with hand weapon shield, warbows are free, and it's like, yeah, why not?
Why
And
not?
they've done a surprising amount of damage.
Yeah. That
Surprising because orcs barely ever hit anything with ballistic skills. So yeah, I'm always
yeah, is it
surprised if they do any. But
is it ballistic skill three, strength three? Or are they strength four?
yes, no, strength three.
Strength three, yeah, okay.
Yep, toughness
And
four,
you
which makes them hard to kill. But yeah.
yeah. And your night goblins, who's this guy at the front?
Now, that guy, I was trying to figure out how I was going to represent Spider Banner, and I could have just made a banner and painted a spider on it, but I thought I'd do it differently. He's the shaman that comes with the Arachnarok kit with the giant spider, and I thought, who better to represent a Spider Banner shaman than a Spider Banner standard than the Spider Man himself? So he's very not painted yet, but he'll be done by the weekend.
And
So he's our
is that like a little
standard bearer.
staff? Is that like a little staff
He's got
kind
a
of
little
thing?
staff with
Yeah.
spiders on it and stuff like that, and he's got this sort of web cloak that makes him look like he's an arachnid. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's standing in as the spider banner,
Banner. Yeah, right. Perfect. Let me
and in front you've got the Richmond fanatics.
Are you a Richmond fan?
No, no, the colours just matched.
Yeah, nice.
Originally they were hazard stripes, then I thought to make it more Aussie, that's Richmond fanatics.
I'll just get back to this one because this is what you're talking as well. This is your trolls
Yeah,
with
on the left of Big Kev, he's an old Rackham miniature or something that I got found in a rather random way years ago, and I thought he'd. No, Big Kev used to be the salesman. He'd be on TV saying, "Oh, Big Kev's he's always, I'm excited." And it's like, yeah, okay, step back, big guy, step back. But yeah, so I call him Big Kev, and the one in the middle's nobody because he's tossing a dwarf.
tossing a dwarf. So where's this dwarf from?
Again, Battle for Skull Pass.
Yeah.
So before I even started the Orc-Stralian journey, I was in England. I had basic tools and a Battle for Skull Pass army. So a tied up dwarf came with that set. And I thought, well, he's just holding a rock. Well, it was a carved dwarf rock. But I thought throwing a dwarf was much more entertaining, especially if you can fit a bad pun in there.
Yeah. And the poor, unless I'm not seeing it, are the orc boys on the ball boys, are they just ball boys? Or is there a conversion
They're
here as
ball
well?
boys.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no
right.
conversion.
Yeah.
The banner is, as you can see, is undercoated and inked, but that's a work in progress. Progress. If you might remember, there's an old basketball team, the Western Sydney Razorbacks.
Razorbacks, yeah.
Razorbacks. So hence that's the banner they're getting. Which let's see how badly my freehand goes. Eek.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm going to try
Uh,
one side and see what happens.
yeah, give it a go. I mean, judging by the rest of your army, I reckon you'll do all right. So there it is in its glory. Obviously, he's not on a ball, but we can all
No.
imagine. Um, we've got a few minutes left. I just wanted to kind of, what's your, obviously, I've given you a lot of adulation already, but when, like, you've even called this list the fun stuff, it might not be top meta list building, but what's your intention when you bring a list like this to a tournament? What is it? What's a successful
Look,
day out for you?
look, just for starters, if people look at the army and go, hey, that's different, I like that, then I'm happy already. I like to bring something different to the table, and if people are happy with it and like playing against it, then that's awesome. I tend to rate the way you're playing the game as being much more important than whether you win or lose, which is just as well when you play like I do with a random army like I have. So I try my luck. I haven't had that many games of Old World, but I love the strategy and tactics of the square based game.
Mm.
Um, Gave up on 40k back in sixth edition. It just stopped being a strategic game, became a dice throwing dice at each other game. So um, I've really enjoyed playing fantasy, and actually quite mourned the loss of it when they axed it. I never quite got into Ninth Age or anything. So when Old World came back, it's like dust off the Orcs and Goblins, hit the table again. So yeah, I just look forward to having a bit of a battle of wits and a laugh at the dice with my opponent. Last tournament, the first one that Western Sydney Warriors ran the other month, was absolutely awesome. Played three awesome opponents, and I'm looking forward to the same this Saturday.
Yeah, Alex, obviously the other half of this podcast went to that tournament and had an incredible time, has spoken highly of it. Also, shout outs to the TOs, Michael and the gang as
Oh,
well.
absolutely. They ran a
Because
really good show.
yeah, Alex calls it the Lux tournament. There's no corners cut. It's great location, great tables, great terrain, great people from what I've heard, and a
Yep,
great atmosphere.
absolutely. I
So
rate it.
yeah, I'm
When I
really
heard
looking
they were
forward
doing
to
a
it.
second one, it was like, count me in.
Yeah, and it filled up instantly. So I think it's a great sign for not just the group that we're playing with, but maybe Sydney
Mm.
as a whole, hopefully. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this on the table and to meet you in person. Thanks again for
Yeah,
taking the
looking forward
time.
to seeing
And
you there.
yeah, congratulations on an awesome looking army.
Thanks a lot.